Hey, good morning. It's very early in the morning. Just loving the word and getting into it. Dr. Prodigal coming to you. Just a very quick thing this morning. I'd like to put it out there just for some thought. I'm steadily studying, and the Holy Spirit is quickened to my spirit about appetites. So, what do I mean by appetites? And it's just a thought. We see a development of many things in the Bible. I'm looking in the beginning where I don't see where there was any meat that was eating until possibly after the fall. Even though there was a sacrifice with Cain and Abel, well, I would say Abel, not necessarily Cain, of animals. I don't see where anybody was eating any meat. That's one appetite. So here we are. We're going to, vegetables, seed, because God gave us in Genesis what exactly we should be eating. That was one aspect. Then we hear after the fall, where now that people begin to eat meat and things like that. Another aspect. There are references in the law concerning fish and what kind we can eat. Like a catfish, it has no scales, so that's one that we can't eat. And I know that this upset a lot of people, but there's some good news because Acts chapter 10 tells Peter, look, what God created, don't you call unclean. So you all don't throw out your hot sauce for that catfish yet. But I'm seeing the progression of things. Okay, so here we are with the meat. Now we at the tabernacle where the Levites were who were tasked to be church workers, for lack of a better term that I can think of, and relay that information to you. Here they were given a portion of the sacrifice for their sustenance, meat, animal meat. So now we've gone from the seeds to meat, and then we continue on. We get to the New Testament, and this is where it stirred in me. I didn't see a whole lot in the New Testament about dealing with meat, as saying, okay, this is what it is speaking. And Acts is a wonderful book. Luke and Acts, I really love it. We're studying Luke now, but Luke and Acts pretty much are one book to me, and one is considered, Luke is like the preface of Acts, which is considered a continuation of Luke. So here we are, and I'm looking at this, and I said, Lord, what's going on? From the very beginning, here Jesus is talking to fishermen, not ranchers, anything else, fishermen. The shepherd is there. He's giving examples of the shepherd. Yes, they did, eat meat, the traditional Passover meal. Jesus ate at least as an adult as 30 years old. Or did Jesus say 33 of them? Let's get it straight. One way or the other, he ate at least 33 Passover meals. So I'm watching this. I would say 32 because on the 33rd, he became the lamb that he normally celebrated. But now I'm watching this, and I'm looking at the small details, the timing. Jesus says, come on, Peter. All of y'all come here, and I'm going to make you fishers of men. So there's a metaphor, a simile, whichever I'm not even sure of this one. It's very early, still very early. Men, fishers of men. Now we go from just preaching to people to men being synonymous with fish. So then I'm watching, and Jesus is continually cooking fish. He's feeding the 5,000 with fish. All of this. I guess we're supposed to ingest the desire of our brothers that consider fish. We're here. We're speaking of this. We're speaking of fish. Okay, the fishes of men. Jesus is boiling fish for them on the shore. All of these things. And all the time, the first thing that happens at the end of what Peter thought was the ride where Jesus was crucified was they went back fishing, not realizing that what he brought them from You return it to something familiar, but yet every time you cast a net, you could not stop remembering that Jesus said, cast your nets on the other side, and the harvest that came out of it, the catch. And then he said, I'm going to make you fishers of men. So what is it about this appetite? We start off with seeds and everything. We start off plant-based. We go to meat. And then we finally get around to fish. Why? Why? But yet we're not to denigrate anyone that has another appetite for something. I was checked in my spirit and in my life in Romans 14. It says, stop, judging other people and, where they eat this or they do that or they got this day or they that. That's why I'm really not into the arguments about Christmas and Easter. Yes, I have knowledge and wisdom even about certain aspects of that, yes. But it's not up to me to argue about that because of another person doesn't believe like I believe. And that's okay. As long as we can go to that foundation of Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God, sent to earth, died, buried, and resurrected for the remission of my sin. And we can work on some things, but I'm going to watch you to see if not that you're doing things that's just socially acceptable as Christian or you're a disciple. So again, we go back to this appetite thing again. Here we are, different appetites, but it's always a progression of sorts. So what I'm thinking of, and this is just, as I'm speaking, I'm sensing some things, that the seed that was already, God gave us that in the Garden of Eden. There wasn't any rain or anything because the mist came up from the earth to water everything. Now here we have the flood where all of that was wiped out, everything on earth. And Bishop Stephan Patterson, mighty man of God, he said something and it just rocked my world. As I was looking at that and the way he was talking, he said, think about it. After the flood was when we have everything being cooked and eaten that was meat. And it was. So now I'm seeing that after the flood, here we have a new appetite because it was out of need. Your protein and everything else until we could get the seeds and things growing. Well, evidently Noah found some seeds. He got a vineyard and he got him some juicy juice. But now here we are with that. Now we come all the way up. We come up through, Egypt. We come up through Passover. We come up through Goshen, the Promised Land, the Tabernacle, even the temple in the time of Jesus. And then here he steps out. We see the head of John the Baptist removed. So, again, symbolically, prophetically, the change of administrations, the change of, how should I say, the change of eras. One head comes, it can't be two heads on the same thing. He was the forerunner. He lost his head, not because of everything else. It could be in there, but there was a change of headship, and now Christ is the head. And instead of him dealing with locusts and wild honey and meat, Jesus started talking about fish. He started talking about men. Yes, he talked about sheep, but he didn't tell the disciples, I'm going to make you shepherds of sheep. He gave examples of it. He said, I will make you fishers of men. In other words, I'm going to send you out to get the men and catch them just like you be catching the fish. And what are you going to catch them with? A net. Or a net that works. So let's begin to think about things. Ask the Holy Spirit to show you some things. Why? Two other things that I thought about as well. I was reading about the parable of the sower. He goes through 4 aspects of that. And each one of those aspects, last night I heard something that made me think, and I just cocked my head like, wow. We always hear about the parable of the man who built his house on the sand and the one who built his house on a rock. The one question just messed me up, which came through all the way into this morning. What if the one that built the house on the sand is the same that built the house on the rock? It was at different times. So, the same question applies to the parable of the sower. What if in that parable it's the same person? Personally, I can give you that. I can give you that in my life. I've been each one of those stages. And I'm still perpetually going back between most stages. We will continually go back and forth in between it. We will continually go back. So these are some questions that we should ask. What's up with the change of appetite? And could this be me at different stages in my life? Perhaps instead of just reading through the Bible, we need to let the Bible read us. Perhaps instead of just zooming through the Bible, and we're going to do, and I've been guilty of it. I got to do X amount of chapters every morning. I'm sitting there and just, okay. I left the letter of the word and everything, and the letter of the law out. It was just, I can't even describe it, an act of piousness. And then I began to study. Some days I may do 5, 6, 7 chapters, and some days I may only do 3, 4, 5 verses. But in them verses, I'm digging in words and things else. It's like another verse. I have some notes here this morning. I believe it's like the 8th chapter of, let me see. And I do. You should have pencil, paper, and notebook whenever you study or you hear word. But yes, Luke 8:10. The word know, and the word know, that it was up to them to know the secrets of the kingdom, to know the meaning of the parable. And you get stirred by the Holy Spirit. Look up that word know in the Greek, and you look up that word know, and you find out that word know is the same word they use to denote sexual intimacy. So what other closeness of intimacy can there be except that you are that close to the secrets of the kingdom, to where you know them in the context of the ultimate intimacy under you and God? What am I saying to people this morning? We have to start asking God to show us what He wants us to focus on, and not just read through. These times like this are refreshing, especially for me, early in the morning. No sunlight that's going to come up for a minute yet anyway. Let's begin to dig deeper and say, Lord, show us these things. Do I need to change my appetite? Because when I change my appetite, I also change the function of my body. And I've learned, especially recently, I have changed my appetite, and I'm finding out that I need more nutrition. So I can't be stuck, and I love nuts, love them, just love them. I am carnivorous, love it, but sometimes my body doesn't love it. And I'm learning now that I'm eating more fish. I still eat meat on occasion now. Couple occasions, depending on the season of the year. But for the most part, I'm very much aware of what I'm eating now. And when I say that, I'm using it as a metaphor for even what I read, try to be what I listen to, and especially what I'm around. So let's think about that. Where is our appetite going? Where has it been? And what shall it become? Let's check out our appetite. I'm going to go back and get into some of this, and then I may go back and take a little short nap. Or I may just get up and make me a smoothie, changing my appetite. God bless you this morning. Love y'all, man. I love y'all.